Good morning. It is Christina with your AM Manna. And this morning's manna will be coming from two scriptures. First one being Matthew chapter 7, verse 15 through 20. And the second one is going to be Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 and 23. Matthew chapter 7, verse 15 through 20 reads, "Beware of false prophets, who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves. You will know them by their fruits. Do men gather grapes from thorn bushes, or figs from thistles? Even so, every good tree bears good fruit, but a bad tree bears bad fruit. A good tree cannot bear bad fruit, nor can a bad tree bear good fruit. Every tree that does not bear good fruit is cut down and thrown into the fire. Therefore, by their fruits you will know them." Now, the fruit that God is talking about that's being addressed in this scripture here, these scriptures, are the fruits of God's Spirit. God is saying that you will know my prophet by their fruit. And he's talking about the fruit of his Spirit. Because in order to walk with God, one must walk in love because God is love. And therefore, we must have the attributes of who he is, the characteristics of who he is, the traits of who he is. And how we know that we are with him and walking with him is we represent that, which is therefore the fruits of his Spirit. And Galatians chapter 5, verse 22 and 23 tells us what those fruit are. It says, "But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law." What God is saying in Matthew chapter 7, verse 15 through 20, he's telling us what we should look for in the prophet that tells us whether the prophet belongs to him or the prophet is a wolf in sheep's clothing. In other words, that simply means an imposter, an impersonator, a pretender. It is very important that in this season that we're in, that we make sure that we're checking for the fruit of the people that we're receiving words from. Because you would hate to find out that the person that you've been receiving from is not truly a person sent by God or walking with God, because it may be too late. So it is very important that we have understanding of these two scriptures, because this is the way that this is the word that God has given us. This is the instructions that God has given us on how we are supposed to check for a true prophet. He said that you will know them by their fruit, the fruit of his Spirit, love, kindness, patience, self-control. Those are all attributes of love, because the word says that love covers a multitude of sin. And the reason it says that is because we all know, anybody that has ever been in love understands or loves their children. We love unconditionally. We love hard. So we understand that in doing so, when you love someone, you tolerate a little bit more from them than you would from some stranger or someone that you don't know. Love covers a multitude of sin. And with that love comes kindness. Because guess what? There's going to be times in that relationship with that loved one or that intimate relationship that you're in where you're going to be tested, you're going to be tried, and there's going to be some situations that you find yourself in. But you're going to be kind because you truly love them, because you don't want to hurt what you love. We practice self-control in love because guess what? There's some times when we get into arguments with our loved one or with the person that we care about, and there's some things that may pop into our mind that we might want to say, but we don't because we love them. Practicing self-control. We can't say we walk with God and we're for God and we have not the fruits of his Spirit, because God is love. It is very important in this hour that we start looking at what people's actions are and not what they're saying. Because their words will say one thing, but their actions will show something totally opposite of what they're saying. God is saying here in Matthew chapter 7, verse 15 through 20, that we are to check for their fruit, because that is how we will know who is from him, who's walking with him, that we may not be deceived by imposters. Check for the fruit. If someone has been preaching for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, your favorite pastor, your favorite apostle, your favorite prophet, it doesn't matter how long they've been doing this. It doesn't matter how many followers they have. It doesn't matter how much money they have, how successful they are in their finances. That is not what God said check for. God said check for their fruit. Are they walking in love, or are they talking and shunning people, putting people out, casting people out? That is not of God. Are they kind to people? People that come up in need, are they helping those in need? I'm not talking about just the ones that are connected to you, just the ones that go to your church. No, just the friends that you have. God said, what you have done for the least of them, you have done for me. We're checking for fruits in this season. Regardless of what they're saying, we're looking at what they're doing because it tells us who they truly are. Don't be deceived in this hour by false prophets, imposters, impersonators, pretenders. They may have started out a way with God, but they have lost that way and are no longer on that route. Know who you allow feeding you the word. Know who you allow to feed your spirit. God says that we're supposed to be checking for their fruit. How can you say that they walking with God and they've been preaching for 50, 60 years and they're operating from a mean girl spirit? How can we say that they've been teaching 40, 50 years and preaching 40, 50 years and they're still operating from a spirit of unforgiveness? They're selective in who they help. They're selective in who they bring up. They're not looking for the fruit of God's spirit in the people that they're bringing up and ordaining. No, it's their connections. It's those that pour into them. It's those who bring the open doors for them. God said, did not the Pharisees help those that helped them? Where is the blessing in that? God is calling us to order. God is calling us to order. And in this season, it's very important for us to check for the fruit of the people that we allow to speak into and over our lives.